nearlydanish.com.
A 1,000 years of unbroken sovereignty, a people forged by myth, moulded by war, and baptized in stone. But how did a seafaring tribe become one of the world's oldest continuous kingdoms? This is the story of Denmark. To understand the Denmark of today, its welfare state, culture, democracy and identity, we must journey far back. Through centuries of conquests and conversions, legends and laws, because the foundations of Danish society were laid not by chance, but by history. For most of its history, Denmark wasn't the small, peaceful state we know today. It was a regional power in the Nordic and Baltic world, made up of diverse peoples, caught between pagan roots and Christian reform, torn between tribal autonomy and royal centralization. The great question: how do you unite a land of farmers, warriors and gods? Around the year 700, a king named Angantyr emerged, the first known ruler to unite parts of what we now call Denmark. By the end of the 9th century, the name Denmark appears in records. Dan for the people, Mark for the borderland, the Danes' border. The Vikings, often remembered as raiders, were just as often farmers and merchants. They sailed across Europe trading, settling, sometimes plundering from England to Constantinople. In the 9th century, Danish Vikings raided England and France. They didn't just take, they stayed, in places like Normandy. In 1013, Swine Forkbeard became King of England. His son, Canute the Great, ruled over England, Denmark and Norway, the Viking Empire at its height. But it didn't last. Still, their legacy lingers. English words like egg, knife, window and law, all Norse in origin, a language echo across centuries. Around 955, King Gorm the Old raised a runestone in memory of his wife Thyra, the first known use of Denmark within the kingdom's borders. His son, Harald Bluetooth, ruled all of Denmark and parts of Norway. He raised a second stone around 965 that still stands in Jelling, proclaiming, "Harald won for himself all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian." That stone is Denmark's baptismal certificate. To protect his growing kingdom, Harald Bluetooth ordered a network of vast ring forts around 980. Aggersborg, Fierkat, Nonnebakken, Trelleborg, and Borgring massive engineering feats. These weren't just forts, they were symbols of power, proof that Harald could levy taxes, mobilize labor, and command loyalty. Denmark had become a centralized kingdom. Before Christianity, the Danes followed a Nordic religion called Asatro. This means the belief in the Aesir, who were gods and giants, of sacred places and doomed prophecies, one of which was Ragnarok, the idea that the world will one day be destroyed. They believed in realms. Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, Midgard, the realm where humans lived, and Utgard, which was separated from Midgard by a high fence. This was where the gods' enemies, the Jotnar, evil giants, and their king, Utgard Loki, dwelled. The king of the gods was Odin, the one-eyed Allfather. Thor was the god of thunder and war, thundering across the skies on a chariot pulled by goats, and Freya, queen of the gods and goddess of fertility. The myths survive today in place names like Odense, Odin's sanctuary, and Torshavn, Thor's harbour. Even in weekdays, Wednesday for Odin, Thursday for Thor. In the mid-9th century, German missionary Ansgar built churches in Hedeby and Ribe. Slowly, paganism gave way to Christianity. Harald's baptism sealed the shift, and with it, Denmark stepped onto the European stage. The moment Denmark was made was not in war, but in stone. The Jelling Stones are more than monuments. They are declarations of nationhood, of belief, of a unified people under a Christian king. From a patchwork of tribes to a centralized Christian kingdom, Denmark had transformed. The kings could now tax, fortify and rule with divine legitimacy, and while its Viking empire would collapse, the kingdom remained. Today, Denmark is a small, homogeneous state, but it was once a maritime empire, a myth-woven land of gods and warriors. Its democracy, economy and culture are shaped by this deep history, by 1,000 years of continuous independence, crowned in stone, born in storm. In Denmark, history is not just remembered, it is lived.
MerelyDanish.com